Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers on the broadcast today. Another look at a candidate with John Miller. He's a Republican candidate for Lieutenant Governor, here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Take a look at Pro Group Management and see how your workers' comp requirements can be met head-on. By taking a proactive approach, Pro Group can assure that your company is meeting or exceeding state and federal standards. As you move forward in your industry, Pro Group moves with you, simplifying regulatory tasks, clearing the way so you can get the job done and look to your future success. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Do you play golf? The Optimist Club of Reno is hosting the inaugural Ray Pezzanella Memorial Charity Golf Tournament on June 3rd at the Lake Course at Red Hawk Golf and Resort. For more information, go to pezgolf.org. Funds raised go to benefit local children's programs.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are pleased to welcome to the program for the first time John Miller. He is a Republican candidate for Lieutenant Governor. Pleasure to have you here on the program, sir.
Great to be invited and glad to be here.
All right, so a lot of people in the state do not know who you are. So let's start out with, please, give us a little background on who you are and why you're running for Lieutenant Governor.
I was born and raised in Las Vegas, one of 7 kids. Went to school here in Southern Nevada and then went off to college at University of Notre Dame. Got offers from all over, graduated in 3 years and fenced at Notre Dame. Got offers all over Chicago, Houston, San Francisco, and decided to come back and work for a family office. Did that for 10 years and focused on life insurance companies and banks across the country. When 2008 hit, many of the banks that we had invested in were in trouble. They needed capital or needed a solution. And so I went from being an active investor to an active shareholder and sitting on the boards of these institutions, helping them find merger partners or go out and raise additional capital. And so did that for 10 years. It was a really exciting time in terms of what was going on in banking. We had a significant run. There were 11,000 banks in the country, and looked up after 10 years, it was 2018, and we went to 4,000 banks across the country, and a significant change in the environment. We lost 13 institutions in the state of Nevada, and then 2 more in mergers of super regionals. Nevada State and Bank of Nevada got swallowed up by super regionals. And the environment had changed not only in Nevada, but across the entire United States for community banking. And I had really fallen in love with what community banking can do for communities. It takes local deposits and lends them out in that community. And there's a real multiplier effect when that happens. And I think one of the things I learned is that is really impactful, not only to those businesses, but to what it means for the entire community. When you have people focused on risk and the management of that risk at a local level. And so in 2019, I helped open Lexicon Bank as the CEO. I was able to round up a bunch of local investors to be on the board with me and start that institution. And we opened in August of 19. 9 months later, the pandemic hit. We had just moved into our new offices in Tivoli Village, and we were called upon, like all the other banks, to find a way to get the PPP money out to small business that had been shut down. And so we're a small group. We had, I think, 11 full-time employees at the time, and we rapidly grew during COVID and rolling out PPP. We worked in revolving 24-hour shifts, and we got over 1,100 loans out to small businesses, 850 million. And what I learned through that process is one of the things I saw absent in our local and our federal government were really people that understood what it meant to run a small business, what it meant to take risk, and the management and lack of understanding of what the government was doing to them. And so that was the catalyst for having the discussion at the family dinner table about what my future should look like. And COVID definitely gave us lots of time to sit around as a family. I have 4 young kids, 16, 14, 11, and 6. And of course my wife, and we were really having a discussion about what our futures look like. And my oldest daughter said, I don't know if I'm coming back to Nevada after college. And that, coupled with everything I was going through at the bank at the time, really was a motivator for making a change and saying, hey, look, we need to be putting people in Carson City that understand business and understand what it means for the future of Nevada to create opportunities for our youth to stay here and not create a brain drain for the amazing Nevadans that we have today in our kids. So really, I'm running because, as the CEO of the bank, I was nurturing the future of business. And as a dad, I'm nurturing the future of Nevadans in my kids. And those two things kind of culminated in having a discussion again with just my wife and saying, does this make sense for us, our family, and really the impact I believe I can have. And when I looked, I really believe Lieutenant Governor was the right fit for me as a businessman and what I can bring to Nevada politics. And so I'm excited to be involved. This is a first-time event for me running for politics, running for office, and I think I can make a difference.
All right, so why pick one of the top constitutional jobs rather than coming in at an assembly level, even a Nevada Senate level, or local area politics, rather than jumping into the top? I ask a lot of people this question.
Yeah, well, I think it was the right fit for my background. I think, being the CEO of the bank, being on lots of boards, starting lots of businesses, being an investor, starting a winery, all of those things I looked at my experience and said, where does that fit in Nevada politics? And I really think the lieutenant governor role is overlooked, underutilized, and it's changed obviously over time. But it really encompasses the 3 pillars of economics in our state. Tourism being number 1, obviously. We'd love to all have a diversified economy. As long as I've been voting in the state, politicians have been telling us that's going to be the future. So tourism plays a role that's huge to our tax base. Economic development, that promise of diversification. And lastly, transportation, not only how goods and services come into Nevada and how our tourists get here, but what we create here and how we are connected to the rest of the United States and the world is essential. And so those 3 pillars of the economy, I think really fit well into my wheelhouse as an entrepreneur, investor, CEO, and banker.
All right, well, let's hit the one that strikes me as most interesting, because not very many other people running for lieutenant governor talk about it, which is transportation. Right now, we see in California the quote, and I put it in quotes, high-speed rail between LA and San Francisco, I think will be sometime around the time of Star Trek: The Next Generation in terms of it being completed, with the cost and all the environmental issues that are going on. We're looking at a form of high-speed rail going from Southern Nevada into Southern California, which certainly has, with Brightline, a better potential than it's had with anybody else. And there's been a lot of great people working on this project for a very long time, from Tony Marnell, Sig Rogich, and a list of luminaries who've worked on that. What other forms of transportation do you see potential for when you look at Nevada, especially Southern Nevada, but also the potential to do things between Northern and Southern Nevada? At this point, Southwest Airlines is only offering a couple of direct flights a day. Business people tell me that they come to Las Vegas to do work and they have to spend the night because they can't get back home. Your thoughts?
There's a lot there, but I'll start with one, just talking briefly about Brightline. I think, when I was in high school in '97, they were talking about high-speed rail, which seems a long, long time ago. Back then I had hair. And so the reality is I don't know. I have not had the opportunity to experience what Brightline's done down in Florida. I'm excited about connecting the major cities that surround Las Vegas. We need Arizona to complete the 11. We need to look at where the 11 connects us all the way up to the Canadian border. But Brightline is a part of a bigger conversation about, do we really want to be looking at legacy systems? And I'm not opposed to high-speed rail, but is it the right approach for Nevada and going down that line? I know, so much was talked about at Hyperloop. We even had, some of the initial testing for Hyperloop in the state. And I think we need to talk about transportation, not just on the sexy stuff like hyperlink and looking at, boring and what, I guess public transportation looks like in Las Vegas and eventually Reno, and really kind of say, do we want to be buses? Do we want to be, light rail, or what is that future aspect? And, we look at the Strip and we're great lookers to the future, right? When we encourage visionaries, that's why we're the world's arena, right? We're the world's arena because we can attract visionaries and create that opportunity. And I think we need to look at transportation in that same front. And so as excited I am about Brightline, I do want to make sure we're looking forward to the future and make sure that Brightline isn't a distraction from what Hyperlink could be and what, a bigger solution to our regional transit authority boring company could be, and the transportation of Las Vegas in the city. And then on a broader basis, as we look at transportation, I think we need to talk about, what's going on in the development of roads and how we put in infrastructure from self-healing, pavement to looking at hotspots and temperature changes around the world and saying, do we need to be looking at putting in lighter road colors and lighter road surfaces? And so I do get excited about the opportunity for us Nevadans to be innovators in the transportation space. And so that's exciting.
The Boring Company, according to Resorts World, is just about to complete the link from the Porte Cochere at Resorts World to the Convention Center. Haven't heard much out of Wynn, which is also building a link from their Porte Cochere at Encore to the Convention Center. But of course, the bigger plan is to pretty much cover the whole underground of Las Vegas with Boring Company tunnels. You like this?
I think the casinos are going to embrace that, right? I mean, one of the biggest embracers of technology in our state has been the casino industry, the gaming industry, are supporters of looking ahead to the future. creating amazing resorts. So I'm not surprised to see them all want to be connected. What I look forward to is having a bigger conversation at RTC about what that could mean for the rest of the city. Linking the rest of the city in a loop, either surrounding the Beltway or, individual aspects of how we connect our city and create more efficiency and look to technology to be a solution of people moving. I'm excited about it. I support it. I think it's great that they're looking to the future. We all should as Nevadans. We should be invested in it.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back more with John Miller. He's a Republican candidate for lieutenant governor. We'll talk more after this.
The Do It Right guys at Nevada Heating have one mission. Your air conditioner breaks down today. We fix it today. Why sweat for days while your air is down when Nevada Heating can get the job done today and you can get cool again? For nearly 50 years, locally owned Nevada Heating has been getting the job done right. Call today at 323-5585 or see us online at nevadaheating.com.
Southwest Specialties has been making the homes and businesses of Nevada beautiful for more than 20 years. Their experienced designers and craftsmen create the walkways, backyards, water features, and a variety of outdoor cooking areas that add curb appeal and value to your investment. Call today or visit them at their website and see how they can make your outdoor spaces special. Southwest Specialties, creative, distinctive, beautiful. Brian Culpa Photography was born in the rolling hills of Massachusetts, and now he can help you experience the stunning beauty of Nevada in a whole new way through the power of flight. Flying has always been a passion for Brian, and at Brian Culpa Photography, he can make your imagination soar. Brian has the creative mind and tools to tell your unique story. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with John Miller. He is a Republican candidate for lieutenant governor. You brought up something earlier in the discussion that I think is a really important thing, and that I doubt that most people really think about, which is small businesses, what it takes to start a small business, which is usually a good idea, what it takes to survive as a small business, which is incredible guts. If you don't have guts, man, just take a regular job with a regular paycheck, because you're going to go on a roller coaster ride if you're going to run a small business. And then what happens when you have things like the recession in 2008 or COVID? Man, I'll tell you, if you came through the recession and you came through COVID and you're still in business, then my hat's off to you, because you are a business person. You don't need to have gone to school for that. Agreed?
Agreed. It does take guts. It takes patience, being nimble, being flexible about, what your ability to succeed is and what success looks like. And so, hats off to any of the people that are willing to start a business, and the people with ideas that they find solutions to get that idea out in the marketplace.
All right, so here's the conundrum, which is you have a great idea, you think you have a great business plan, you go to the bank, and the bank says, well, it's a great idea, we wish you the best of luck, but we ain't giving you any money here. The state, even if they have funds, aren't they basically in the same position, which is unless you already have what you need, it's really hard to get that initial funding to get going. So how do you do that? And if that comes under the purview of the lieutenant governor, what would your role be in that?
Well, let's take one step back and look at just banking in general, right? So banks take risk based on their ability to get repaid. And so oftentimes, you're right, banks have a hard time finding a way, unless you already have a creditworthy borrower, to make initial loans on small business. And so the federal government realized that. They created the SBA, and there are pathways for some small businesses to get help, a guarantee that allows banks to lend in that performance. And I'm a firm believer that one of the greatest things about banking is that, I'm sorry, my Outlook kept going off there. I assume it picked that up.
Well, you're probably making some money, so that's probably a good thing for the campaign.
I hope that's exactly what it's telling me. I'm trying not to look. But what I was saying is that the amazing thing about banking is that it's a public and private partnership. It's private capital taking a risk, but the deposits of the banking environment are really protected and guaranteed by the FDIC. And so that combination has created more risk and allows for banks to lend money. And the neatest thing I think we need to be looking at the state level is if there's a way to use state deposits and really come up with a system that allows banks that are Nevada domesticated institutions to take those state deposits when they're not being used, when they're in deposit format cash, and banks be incentivized to go out and make certain types of loans. Other states around the country utilize similar programs to this. And I think it's a great opportunity when we look at diversifying the economy and really creating not only diversified economies, but diverse businesses. And look at trying to provide access to capital that you're talking about to a diverse group. So if banks have the ability to go out and get those deposits at relatively cheap costs and understand the risks, I believe they'll be more inclined to make some of those loans. And I think that's one potential solution that we need to be looking at the state legislature.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back more with John Miller after this timeout. I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker, and you've got a lot of convention space and meeting breakout space for people. Tell us about what's available.
Well, we can handle a group up to about 250, and anywhere as small as 10 or 15. So it really depends on what you're looking for, what the customer's looking for. We're open to anything. It's a beautiful drive, and if you live in South Reno, it's probably about 30-35 minutes, so it's real easy to get to. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with John Miller. He is a Republican candidate for lieutenant governor. You talked about earlier about diversification. I think in northern Nevada, I think we have so much diversification that we can afford to share it because the unemployment rate is below 3% now in the Reno-Sparks area, which is unbelievable considering all that we've come through. In southern Nevada, it seems to me that when we talk about diversification, what we're really talking about is not diversifying away from the gaming industry and tourism industry, because that is so huge. Right now we're sitting on 150,000 rooms in Las Vegas with Fontainebleau online, and more properties popping up every day from small places to big places. But aren't we talking about diversifying the tax base so that when there is something that like COVID or 9/11 that causes the Strip to shut down, that we have a tax base that still exists to be able to maintain the essentials of local and state government during that kind of situation?
Yeah, I mean, Sam, there's definitely part of it is talking about diversifying the tax base, but I also think it provides opportunity. It goes back to one of the reasons I'm running. You know, if that is the growth of our state, and a significant portion of it, what we're losing are great minds, great business investments, great opportunities for our youth to stay Nevadans, because those opportunities seek elsewhere. When you talk about, our diversification versus just 100 miles away from me in Utah, where they're 97.3% diversified, there's a big difference there. And so what we really need is not more jobs. We need the right kinds of businesses to create careers and opportunities for Nevadans to develop. And with that comes a tax base. So I think sometimes we put the cart before the horse, and we start talking about, the money that we're carrying and what that's going to mean for the state. But at the end of the day, it's really retention of an amazing workforce and the minds we have in Nevada and keeping them here. And so I look at my own kids, and I look at, I'm also a scoutmaster. I look at the kids that I get to deal with as scouts as they grow up and mature, and what they want to see in their future. And it isn't just gaming, right? There's an opportunity for us to keep them engaged in the economy if we allow those right businesses and right career opportunities in our state. And with it comes a diversification of our tax base.
And that's where we have to leave it. John Miller, we'll see you on the campaign trail. Thank you so much for doing this today.
Thanks for having me. Look forward to meeting you in person.
For sure. And we'll be right back.
Hey guys, are you watching the game at a friend's or the bar again because you can't watch at home with your wife? Or worse, because she kicked you out and kept your couch, your flat screen, and your kids? What's the one thing a man needs when he loses a good woman? A good lawyer. And when he loses a bad woman, he needs a great lawyer. What makes a good woman a bad woman? You tell me. You're the one that can't watch the game in your own home. I'm men's rights attorney Marilyn York, and I represent men in divorce, custody, and family law matters.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at NevadaNewsmakers.com. You can also check our archive going back to 2005 on our website. Again, NevadaNewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.